Well, hello everybody. Finally got it to work. Can't make this simple. I don't know, but it never ever is. I just want to add something quick in chat. So hello Stacy. Hello Chanel. I had to go try 2-3 different ways of doing this. I don't know why. There's at least a couple of different ways to do it, and it was all being a nightmare. But I tried it a couple different ways, and it finally did it. So this is the very first live stream on our YouTube channel. Welcome, everybody. Happy dance. It cooperated more than Facebook. Go figure. So please share this out because there isn't very many subscribers yet to our YouTube channel. Really trying to get that bumped up as much as possible. Obviously, we're going to have to figure out how to do this more appropriately here on YouTube. Excuse me. I did, but that one has to be deleted, Chanel, on the page because that one didn't work. This way looks better, the picture quality. Yeah, definitely. During this, I can't add anybody either. That has to be done prior and all of that. You can't just add people willy-nilly here on YouTube that I'm aware of. And I certainly don't see anything that would allow that to happen. Can everybody hear okay? All good? Anybody? I know there's even a bit of lag here. So seems to be going steady though. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm waiting to hear from you guys. Okay, there's Stacy. Just popped up. I don't know how long ago you typed that, but it just popped up on my screen. Thank you. Well, the sound thing, the volume thing on this isn't, there's no adjusting it. I have no idea. If you go up to the top where your chat starts at the very top, it'll say top chat. Click on that and change it to live chat, and you should see everyone. Hi, Katie. So there's Stacy, Chanel, Sandy, and Katie. Chanel, share this out to all the different groups, experiences within the light especially. Share this out for sure, and on the Variety Multimedia page where everyone is looking for it. Because it does not, as Facebook doesn't allow you, it doesn't allow you here to share while you're live, which is the dumbest thing ever. So I don't get it. Anyways, guys, thank you for sharing out. If you have, I really appreciate that. So we're just going to get into the topics. We're already an hour past what we should have been doing with all these techie issues with Facebook and everything. So cemeteries, they're everywhere. Every town, every city. Some have more than one. You know, they're old family lots that are on properties that might still have their stones and may not. They may be overgrown as well. But since we have any of these cemeteries, hi there, Glenn. Oh, sweet. Thank you. Um, Now we have all these cemeteries everywhere. What if these cemeteries were actually built on already contaminated, negative ground? Um, Now, most of us understand what consecrated ground is, and that means having been made or declared sacred in the Christian belief system, anyway. Um, Now, I want you to consider this: there was land way before man existed. All right, which means there was bad, negative land areas way before man. Now, man created belief systems, so that all came later too. The animals didn't have a belief system um, that we're aware of, anyway. Let's just say that. So let's get back to the land and the ground, and if certain land can be bad or negative in general. In my personal opinion, yes. As a medium, I know this to be true, and there's all different types of ways that that can be. And that's natural energy, geological reasons. It can be bad and therefore it's negative. It can cause a host of unhealthy human and animal conditions, um, whether it's a natural occurring geological situation or just for some reason it's just tainted ground. It can cause those eerie feelings, the being uncomfortable, those fight or flight reasons, those gut instincts that you get, and that fight or flight kicks in, and so on. Now, what happens when a few or hundreds get buried on such land that are negative? That's negative ground itself, whether it's natural occurring, whether it was cursed land, or just had bad energy to it. What happens, okay, to all those people that were buried in that ground? Now, I don't honestly believe that a soul sticks around that long, because usually it takes days to bury people. But some people, when they pass, for some reason, whether they have a living understanding of the world in general while they're alive, or their mental capacity might be a little different, they can't quite grasp that change, or they're confused, or they're just really attached still to their body, their physical body. What about those? It's not many, but it does happen. What about those souls that are still attached to their human form prior to their death? What happens to them when they're buried in this tainted ground? It's frightening to think about, but it's happened. It's definitely happened. How and what kind of effects does this have on those who have, passed on and they can't let go? What happens to these poor souls that are so confused or stubborn or whatever? They don't move on. Do they actually stay with their physical body? Some might, some might not. They might go back to different places, that they're like their home that they were familiar with, things of that nature. But ultimately bounce back to their body to feel secure, and they're confused. So why not? Hi, Chuck. Now, I feel that on some of this tainted ground, um, such as cursed land or tainted ground, things of that nature, because we all know most of us know that any negative thought can manifest energy into something negative or positive. That doesn't change. So can this happen and cause ultimate confusion? Can it drive spirit energy crazy? Could it affect their non-physical mental capacities? Yeah, especially if they're on cursed land, especially that way. But that's just my personal opinion. Now, and if this land that was already bad, what if it was desecrated? Now you've got two whammies. Disrespected or desecrated, depending on the type of property, whether it's Native American or Christian belief systems or other belief systems, whether it was desecrated in any way, shape, or form, then that's even more negative energy that's around. Thank you, Chuck. Thanks, Stacy. Everybody that shared, I appreciate it. Whether it was even vandalism that happens, it's just beyond me why people do that. Why they go into cemeteries and vandalize and knock over and break headstones and markers and things of that nature and spray paint, and it's disgusting. It's just disgusting. Now, then you've got negative rituals that have taken place there, dark rituals. There are dark practices within several different religions or spirituality based things. Witchcraft being a witch usually gets the worst rap. Witches, male or female, they're witches. They mostly get a bad rap because usually they're all about goodness and keeping one with the earth and the natural energies of things, and but there can be a dark side to that, and there's a dark side even within Christianity, even within Catholicism. Turn on the news. Doesn't take long to hear something about that. It's unfortunate and horrible, but it's true. And there's negativity in every spiritual or belief system. But if these negative things that take place on certain pieces of ground, certain properties, over and over and over again. This has happened a great deal on that one cemetery, something Grove Cemetery outside of Chicago. What is the name of that, guys? Something Grove Cemetery, just outside of Chicago, Illinois. There's a lot of negative things that have happened on that property ritualistically. Murder, rape, suicide, body dumping, all kinds of terrible, terrible things. There was even a case where a retired police officer was discussing that he used to patrol that area for many, many years. That was kind of like his post. And Scotch Grove, maybe that's the name of it. But anyway, there was someone putting tight metal wire around trees and stringing it between the trees. And then they chase people through there, and it would cut right into their necks, slice their necks wide open. It's horrible, horrible activity. And what about that ground? That's a cemetery ground, a very heavily wooded back area of the cemetery. But what happens to that ground when that horrible stuff happens? It can't be good. I wouldn't think. I've walked onto some property that you would least expect anything to be wrong, and I would just walk onto it and just feel my stomach turn because of the negative energy. And sometimes that's quite the surprise. But you never know. There weren't always cemeteries. People buried their dead on their own property for many hundreds of years. Should that property that is so bad remain in use as a living piece of property, like that has a home or any type of building on it that people are going to be spending a significant amount of time in, is that a good idea? Some of the stuff I have to say, no people should live on some of this land that has been tainted. That again is just my personal opinion. Bachelor's Grove, that's it. Thank you, Haglin. Thank you so much. Now, it's really, really hard for me, being a physical medium, that when I walk on land like that, my whole entire body, I feel that it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. And any of you out there with any kind of physical mediumship sensory abilities understand exactly what I'm talking about. Or if you're an empath in any kind of way, you understand that being a physical medium is very difficult on your body. It's very hard on your body. Any physical medium, you ask the way that their body is so physically affected. You can put up your protections as much as possible, but being a physical medium is part of who you are to your very core. You cannot completely block that out. When you get to a certain level in your mediumship, you're going to feel stuff whether you expect it or not, or whether you want to or not. I hear people talk about flipping a switch. Well, that's fine, because you can do that to a certain extent. But when you are very good at what you do and you're highly sensitive, does that mean you can flip that switch off 100% just because you're good at what you do? I don't believe so. I think that's naive. But again, that's my personal opinion. I am 49 years old. I've seen and heard things since I was 3. I trust my instincts. I trust what I do. And that's crucial, because I can feel something positive like that. I can feel something negative like that. It's key to protecting oneself. It's crucial. Now, it's extremely sad to come upon these type of situations as well, because not only are you feeling some of these physical pains and ailments and tortured souls almost, and it's not all of them, don't get me wrong, so don't think that, but every once in a while you come across one that's so confused and just does not understand what has happened to them, that it breaks your heart, and you have to keep yourself together when they come to you spirit wise and want your help. You have to keep it together. You have to have that constitution within you to focus and filter emotions and feelings and physical ailments. You have to separate that stuff and try to help when they want your help. And sometimes all it takes is a conversation in a respectful manner. They just want to understand. Perhaps they've never come across someone in any particular moment that was able to do that for them or help them. They could have been screaming in someone's face or 5,000 different people's faces that they've seen over the years, and not one of them were able to hear, listen, or help them. And finally, they get to someone that can hear them, listen to them, sense them, see them. Imagine that. Just imagine that. It can be heart-wrenching. It really can. And you just have to cope with that and move forward. You just do. It's hard, but it's true. Let's see. Chanel says back in 2001, 2002, there was a crematory cemetery in Schoenberg, Illinois, that was tossing dead bodies into a lake on the grounds instead of burying them. Yes, I heard about that. They were also digging up the dead and reusing their spaces. Yes. Then that, I'm positive, caused a lot of tainted ground. I'm sure, energy-wise. Energy-wise, for sure. Now, we all know that the ground itself can be tainted, polluted, things of that nature that causes water supply issues. A lot of cemeteries over the years have had to be moved because the bodies were, the rotting caused, not good physically, think about that, or mentally, not good for anyone. And of course, then you've got the fact of a lot of times people didn't have the money to have their family members moved, or they didn't have any family members left and could pay for it. Their bodies still stayed there, but they told everybody they moved the cemetery. They moved the headstones most of the time, but not all the bodies all the time. There was always some left behind. And just that displacement, even for a spirit that is in visitation, that's not stuck here, so to speak, that can be very confusing for one, and just that comes back and forth in visitation, that isn't stuck here, because that's rare. But the visitation thing, energy-wise, is very common, in my experience. But very confusing. They come back to where they energetically think their body, where their body was, their physical body, and all of a sudden, it's not there anymore. Where'd it go? They don't know. How are they supposed to know? What does that cause? What kind of energy shift does that cause? We don't know. But I can tell you that I've come across some pretty confused and even some crazed spirit energy from just the ultimate confusion that's involved. Now, like I said earlier, if they have a mental incapacity for processing thought and things of that nature, it's so incredibly hard to understand. Not everybody's perfect when they die. It doesn't change. We all say, we got to think on that level too. Come across spirit that was a nasty SOB in life, they're nasty on the other side just as well, whatever side that is. But mental capacity, that's mental capacity. That's behavior. So if someone is not fully mentally capable of understanding and they're living life and they pass on, that still happens. They don't all gain clarity. It's unfortunate, but it's true in my experience. And I know several other people that experience that as well. So let's see. Is there anything you can do for them? Oh, it's extremely sad. Yes, if they want the clarity. Now, when in my experience, okay, in this process is not like, well, you're dead. You just need to move on. Go into the light. That's not a good idea to do it that way. It's not a good idea at all. The shock alone of that, especially for someone that doesn't have proper mental capacity, could make things 100 times worse. They may lash out because now they're angry and confused. So basically, you could be creating your own spiritual psychopath. You don't want to do that. What I have found works best for me is to actually have a conversation with them and talk to them the way that I would talk to them if they were face to face, human to human, as if they were still right here. I would have a conversation and try to explain things the same exact way that I would if they were sitting right in front of me in their human form. I found that to be the best way. And maybe not exactly state at that time that they've passed on, but try to talk to them about the concept of what passing on means before that's even considered to be brought up, so that maybe they can try to understand what that actually means. And sometimes I've found they come to their own realization at that point what has happened to them. And then it's like a click, like they get it. And it can be so overwhelming for both them and for me when I've experienced that with them, that euphoric feeling is indescribable. It's just indescribable if you have not ever felt that, because it's overwhelming sadness and pure joy at the same exact time, that they're finally finding an understanding and the peace that comes along with that gives them. It calms their energy, hence their thoughts, so to speak. And they're able to move forward, move on, move to the next step in their path, wherever that might be. That's just what I've found in my experience. And it's an incredible feeling. Now, again, sometimes this does not happen in one visit, one sitting, one discussion. Depending on the spirit, that energy that you're dealing with, it could take many conversations. You're going to hear a siren coming through. I just heard a brief. Yep, it's getting closer. So you just the thought of it can be quite overwhelming. Oh, I think it's more than one. Oh, yep. 2 state troopers going. Someone's being naughty. Let's hope no one's got hurt. But that understanding, how, it may take several visits, several conversations. I think we all understand that. We've all been in school, that one particular subject, we all have a subject in school that we disliked. But think about that. How many times you had to hear the same thing over and over just to get it? If you ever did. You kind of have to relate it to a situation like that. Certain people can explain things easier and clearer than others. You might have one teacher that you remember and it was absolutely amazing, which would be one of my English teachers in high school, Mrs. Riccardi. I'll never forget her. She was amazing. I loved her class. But walk into math class, Mr. Nightmare. That wasn't his name. I'm not going to say his name. But him and I just didn't click energetically. It was very hard. He didn't explain things that in a way to me. Other people, completely different. But with me, it just didn't click the way he explained it. And I think we've all had that happen to us. So you kind of have to think about it on those certain levels, that you can relate to in your own life. That when something you just didn't understand, didn't click, then finally somebody else says it to you and explains it just a little bit differently. And then finally it's like, oh, why didn't I get that all along? It's that feeling, that moment, But it's when you're dealing with spiritual energy of any kind that is violent, negative in nature, has a history of hurting or even killing. Can we prove that? No, but I know it happens. I know that can happen. We just can't prove that. Now, sometimes you might need help. Maybe it's not you that can help them. Maybe it's going to take somebody else to do that. And you have to be willing to do that. Set that ego aside, the bad part of ego, because some ego drives us to do things better. But there is a part of ego that's negative, and everybody thinks that they can fix everybody and do everything. Well, that's for everyone else, and that's not the case. That's just not the case. You have to be willing to set that ego aside and ask someone else for their assistance. Perhaps they would connect better with someone else if you're not getting results. But be willing to do that. Seek other guidance. It could even be another type of medium or a psychic medium or a priest or a shaman. It could be all different whatever kind of spiritual person that it might take, or it might take a group of you working together to take care of the situation. But you have to be willing to do that. You just can't be cocky. That drives me crazy when people think that they can handle everything, because that's not true. That's just not true. We all meld with more people than others, We can get along with most people, but then there's that 1% that drive you absolutely nuts, or vice versa. You drive them absolutely nuts, But there's no reason. It just is you've not done anything. It just is the way that your energies are mixing. So let's hope that this stays connected. Everyone else seeing okay? Yes, Chuck. Yeah, very true. Now, we were going to talk a little bit about the yeah, I just drew a complete blank. The Pine Barrens in New Jersey has the folklore on the Jersey Devil. Okay? Or the Leeds Devil, they call it. They think that they think that that's where they trace it back to. At least there's stories and lore of that. There definitely were a Leeds family that lived there. There's proof. There's graves, grave markers. There's house. All of that. Again, this is located in the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. And they're they're called the Pine Barrens for a reason. Barrens. Because mostly the only thing that'll grow there are pine trees, pine barrens. Now, there are other things that do grow there. It's just not good for crops. The early European settlers could not get their well-known crops that they've always cultivated to actually grow there. Now they grow orchids there now, and some other things, but not a lot. And the Pine Barrens, okay, in New Jersey covers 1/5 of the entire Jersey. From the southern point going northeast, it's in 7 different counties. 7 different counties in New Jersey. And I believe it's over 1,100 acres or something like that. 1,100 square miles. I'd have to pull up my other information in order to get that. But on there, on the Pine Barrens, there are these places, and the police are trying to keep people away from them and have been for a very long time. But it's hard because it's out in the middle of nowhere. There are places on there, and they're blue ponds or blue lakes. They call them blue lakes. They're more like ponds, but they're extremely deep. Extremely deep. And they call them blue because they're crystal blue water. Crystal clear and with a blue tone to them water. It's bizarre. You can look this up online, everybody. And they're said to lead straight to hell themselves, the ponds. Because there's only lakes. They call them lakes, but they're ponds. They're tiny. At least the ones I saw. But being extremely deep and not being able to see the bottoms and things like that, yes, we get that a lot in a lot of places. But these are a lot deeper than normal. Now, mind you, part of this Pine Barrens, being New Jersey, goes along the shore as well. Part of it goes along the shore line. But they're said, in the lore anyway, that the Jersey Devil himself resides and comes and goes from these as he pleases. Is that true? I don't know. That's just the lore, part of the lore. There's a lot of it. Many people actually still to this day die there because they're curious. They want to go out and investigate in these remote areas, check out these ponds and go swimming. Mind you, there's a lot of deadfall trees, all that kind of stuff in these ponds and lakes. And it's very, very, very dangerous. They actually have pulled many bodies out of these lakes. They have to have a special diving team go down and untangle them and go and search for them in the deep depths of these lakes. Have they found them all? No. But the curious are still going there, and people are still dying. Tainted ground. Just a negative place to be. Nothing good has come from these lakes being there. I saw an interview with one of the local police officers that was pretty interesting. And they just can't keep people away from them. But Has everybody died that went there? No. But many, many have. And it's crazy. People just disappear in the woods there. Literally disappear. They're with people, with other people, and they've just disappeared. That's tainted in some way, shape, or form, being in a paranormal, unknown way. It's bizarre. Now that soil, being in Jersey, of course, it's a very acidic soil, a very sandy soil. So are a lot of things going to grow in that? No. Very sandy, very acidic. Of course not. But it's very good for growing orchids. And oh, the other thing that grow there is the very rare pygmy pine tree. Now, I got thinking about that with the whole pygmy pine trees. And I got thinking about the pygmies themselves and what they discovered out in the Midwest. I cannot remember. It was up through South Dakota, Utah, all that, right down through there. It might have been South Dakota. I can't remember the name. I tried finding it and I couldn't locate the exact location. I found an article about it, but it was small and didn't say the location, which was weird because this was a big archaeology find here in the United States. They were a race. They found an actual race and community of bones and civilization and things of that nature of pygmies in the Midwest, and they were actually proven by the sites that they found to be cannibalistic. Now, in Native American beliefs, lore, stories, they have stories of what they call little people of the mountains, things of that nature. Very, very protective of their land, and they were believed. The little people were actually believed to have created stone arrowheads, being that other tribes that were napping using bone. But this little people in the lore that I saw anyway for certain tribes said that the stone napping arrowheads were actually from the little people. And I tell you what, the Native Americans didn't go anywhere near their territory. Every once in a while, they would go, and only a select few go in a parade-like sense to a certain place on the mountain, make their offerings as, a sign of respect, and leave. But no one was allowed to come on to their territory. And the only ones that were allowed onto their territory were actually chosen by the little people. The Indians were chosen by the little people. The ones that were allowed to come on to do the offerings. Otherwise, they would be killed. Because the little people would come in masses and attack and just kill whoever came on their land. They're very territorial, according to the lore. Now, as far as pygmies go, cannibalistic societies, there's cannibalistic societies that were all around the world. We all know the famous Lewis and Clark expedition situation. Wasn't a society, really. It was a total necessity. But there's cannibals from all around the world. Still to this day, there are. I was reading an article, it was from 2011, where the United Nations was actually investigating a situation of a group of cannibals that was taking place over in the Amazon. That were people were disappearing like crazy, and it was from this one particular tribe, and they were cannibals. They were investigating that. So you can look that up too. Just Google it. Amazon Cannibals 2011, something like that. I'm sure it'll pop right up. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to go in any area that has that kind of history of people disappearing and dying. Why? Why would you? That's like taking a boat out into the middle of the Bermuda Triangle and just hanging out there for a couple of weeks. Why would you do that? I wouldn't. There are some folks out there that would. Not me. Not me. I am not doing that. Let's see, there are similar to the cenotes in South America. Could be. I saw that name come up. They may have been referring to them as well. Now, earlier when Chanel and I were talking, she brought up Tainted Ground. What brought that to her? What came to her mind when she thought about Tainted Ground? And she brought up Bobby Mackeys. Yeah. It was what, a slaughterhouse, and then what was it prior to that? Was it always a slaughterhouse, and then it was something after? I don't remember the exact logistics there, but we all know that the lore states that this woman was killed. She was beheaded there. Her head was thrown in the well, never to be found or whatever, and that this place is incredibly haunted. Negative things have been done there. It was a biker bar for a long time. Now, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of bikers that are amazing human beings, do a lot of work for charity. So, but I heard this place in particular, before it was Bobby Mackeys, was a very rowdy place, and that several murders took place there. People died because of fights and guns and knives, and negative ritual things that had happened there in between owners, things of that nature. So what's the name of the woman he did the song about? I can't remember her name. But anyways, you guys all know probably the history about Bobby Mackeys and the horrible things that have taken place there and what is said to go on in that place. Do I know? No, I've never been there. Chanel said that she'd like to go there sometime. Johanna. Was it Johanna? Hosanna. Someone said Hosanna, and that's definitely not it. I'm thinking maybe a typing error. But I think it was Johanna. Johanna. Something like that. So, what's the 15 minutes? Oh, okay. An accident or something occurred because those two cops that went by about 5 minutes ago, now our fire station sirens are going off. So they may be calling backup in the little town up the street as well. Calling for backup. Oh, you live 15 minutes from Mackeys? Wow. Have you ever been in there? Have you ever been in there, Katie? I need a drink. My mouth is so dry. Anyone remember the show Sopranos? They tossed a few potties there back in the day. And the Pine Barrens. Yeah, I have that whole section on Wikipedia about the Pine Barrens, Chanel. That's the information that I was going to read off that you posted up in there. But it's an interesting article. It's a bunch of information about the Pine Barrens. Tons of information about it, lore, history, events, things like that have taken place there. Links to pictures. Check it out, you guys. It's really quite interesting. Really interesting. I'm thinking about doing a show about it. So if you don't get a chance to read all of that information, I've already put together a slideshow to present to you guys with some of the photos of the Pine Barrens and the old Leeds house and the headstones, the different types of drawings of reports of the Jersey Devil and what they look like. One actually was a couple of guys that faked information. One of them didn't admit it for years, but he finally admitted it, and they all got called out like 15, 20 years later or something. That they created, they actually bought a kangaroo back in like 1901 or something like that, and glued wings on it and did different things to it, and it was all a scam to keep their museum open and to draw people to the museum. So yeah, there are a lot of fake things going on out there as well, as we all know. But there's a lot of tainted ground out there. There's a lot of disgusting things that take place in this world, like desecrating Native American burial grounds. Any burial ground, cemetery, things of that, anything like that is, to me, just wrong. Because just move to another place if you need created as a memorial or burial ground area for those who have passed. Really? They've built parks over cemeteries where people walk and play with their children, have family time over top of cemeteries, and people don't even know it. They don't even know it. Kirk Secord did a series about this, about what happens with cemeteries. You should check that out over on Haunted Road Media here on YouTube. He's got some great stuff over there for sure. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos. A lot of work that he puts into those. That's good stuff. Good information. He does great research. Just check it out. And he visits a lot of places too. So, and really, really digs into the history, the true about places, not just that stuff that's made for TV entertainment. Let's see. Those soccer players, 1990s crashed in those mountains, and they did it to survive. Yes, I saw that article as well. I saw that yesterday, I think it was. Yeah. Oh, they had to do what they had to do. A ship did that in Alaska as well, and it had, I don't remember how many people on it. Was it like 40 people? And that's just a guesstimate, but it was quite a few people. And they actually were trying to get around the world in this ship. I can't remember where it was from, but they got compacted in the ice in the Arctic, and they got crushed. The ship got crushed. They ended up finding it later, of course, all encased in ice in a huge glacier. But every single one of them ended up surviving because they got off the ship, they stuck together, they stuck to a plan, and made it to what do they call them? Eskimo and camp up there where Eskimos were. And they made it all the way there, working as a team, and they all survived because they stuck together. Amazing. Just amazing. This was in the late 1800s, I think it was. Early 1900s. Pretty amazing that many people. Goes to show when you stick together, true blue, what you can do when you have the proper mindset. The best for everyone, for the group, for sure. They survived because they stuck to a code. There's no doubt about that. So if you guys, do you guys have any other areas that you can think of in chat that were of tainted ground that you could think of or you would consider tainted ground, or you've heard a story about, or a haunting of said properties? There are quite a few, but you hear so many, it's hard to say. Now, I would say that there's no way in hell I would live on the property where the Dandy House sits. No way. The Dandy House in Hinsdale, New York. Nobody should live in that house. It's just there for for investigation purposes now and research. Thank goodness that no one lives there. It's not good land. It's not good land. There's so many different things going on up there. And they're all pretty pissed. And just driving each other crazy. It's bad ground. And when all the ponds were dug on the property, when it got split up and sold off, they dug a pond and put a pond in every piece of property. There's Native American burial ground that bordered all that. It was not a good thing to do. Not at all. It created horrible chaos on top of the prior negative. It was crazy, but it got worse after that. There's no doubt about it. No, it's totally fine, Chanel. Yeah, when they move a cemetery that they supposedly moved all the bodies, that's usually not the case. They may have moved the headstones, and sometimes that's not always the case either. Because I remember, I can't remember if he was with Shauna or not, but Mike and them had gone, I think it was Mike. There's not very many paranormal things that I actually watch, but Haunted Road Media is one of them. They actually found a bunch of headstones piled up, just strewn in a pile that was buried, in the overgrowth around it and everything. And I can't remember who that was. But why? Just to get them out of the grass? Bodies are probably still there if their headstones were just cast aside into the bushes that were growing up that someone didn't want them to see. Bodies are probably still there. That would be my guess. I can tell as soon as I have walked onto any kind of hallowed ground, even if it's a single site, just a single burial. I feel that as soon as I get close to it. It's a tell for me. There's a certain tell for me when I feel that. So I know what exactly is happening when I feel that particular feeling. And is it always negative? No. Do they get always screwed up, being on tainted ground? No. But it can happen. And it's kind of sad and scary when it does. If you think about it, wouldn't you be pretty pissed off if someone screwed with your burial site? Probably. I'm not having one. So I don't need that. I don't want someone messing with me. My body remains and having to worry about that and upsetting future family about all that. I don't want that for anybody. And I don't need it because I don't need this meat suit. There are a lot of places where they can't grow crops. You know, they can't figure it out. There's places where scientists can't even figure out. There's a park here in New York, and there's a vortex in it. Scientists have been studying it for years and years, and they cannot figure it out. They know the anomaly is there. You can stand in this marked spot and speak in a certain level tone, and then your voice comes back at you full force and higher volume. No explanation for that. Scientists can't even figure it out. You speak in one tone, and it always comes back at you much louder than how you spoke. And it's like, and there's no reason for an echo at all. Wouldn't be louder anyway. But scientists can't figure it out. Ain't nobody in here going to be able to figure it out because they've actually studied it for many, many years. They don't know how that can happen. That right there tells you that there's still so many things out there that we just cannot wrap these brains around to figure out. So the possibilities are limitless of what we just don't understand yet or can't understand. So my advice to everyone, trust your instincts, that gut feeling. If you claim you don't have gut feelings or never had a gut feeling, that's an empathic feeling. Everyone's born with human instinct. Animals are all natural instincts. They come out of mom or out of an egg, and that they're right. They know exactly where to go to feed. How do they know that? That wasn't taught behavior. They just came out of the womb. That's natural instinct. Humans are all born with it too. We're just a little slower to the go. And as we get older, we're taught not to trust any of that. Most are taught not to trust any of that. I was taught not to trust it. So most of us were. Trust those gut instincts, people. Don't second guess yourself. Second guessing yourself is when you get in trouble. And you think, oh man, I knew I should have done that. Why didn't I do that? I knew it. I thought it, and I just didn't do it. We've all had those moments. True. I get gut feelings with certain people. Absolutely. Katie, I call that the walking lie detector. I'm a walking lie detector. You get that energy immediately around other people. It's natural for me to feel that. You know, you can block that out so much because once you've gone through this for 40 some years, it's just a natural instinct to you. It's not something that you push away, block, put a shield up. You feel that whether you're intentionally doing it or not, because you're not. It's just part of who you are, part of your own built-in instincts. It's just that some people's are stronger than others. Some people allow it to be stronger than others. Some people nurture it and make it even stronger. So just always trust your instincts. Really, that's pretty important. Pretty important, especially when you first meet people. You have to trust that. You might want to, give it a couple more meetings. Maybe it was just a bad day they were having. But be aware that that was your first instinct for this particular person. And then kind of go from there. Don't second guess yourself. If you feel it again the next time you meet them, boom, you were right on, spot on. But give it 1 or 2 more times, to really pick up. We all have those bad days. Or we just want to go, why are you talking to me? So, yeah. Let's see. Haglin says, me too, Katie. Those little hairs at the back of the neck. Yep, cases even came to find out someone. Yes. The pervs. Yeah, for me, they stick out like a sore thumb. Yeah. Yeah. I get what I feel and see it, and I call it muck. Muck. Around people with addictions of any kind, illegal addictions, things of that nature. It's different than someone with chronic illness as opposed to someone with a sudden onset ailment or something of that nature. It's completely different. But when I see people with addiction to drugs and alcohol and have issues with this in their life, it's just what I call a muck. It's their aura. It's just a muck to me. It's like a gray, blackish muck. It's the only way I can describe it. It's thick and it's horrible. Just horrible. And you feel it. It's like, ooh. Yeah. It's not a good situation. Stay away from that. Recommend some help if they're willing to listen. A lot of people aren't willing to hear that. Most people already know they have a problem. They're just not willing to accept help, which is unfortunate. But sometimes it just takes, someone to say, hey, not bring up the addiction, but say, hey, if you ever need someone to talk to, maybe that's what it'll take. But don't get run over. Don't let them use you and wring you out like a dish rag. You can only help those who want to be helped, and you certainly can stop yourself from being used by them. But that's your choice, your own constitution of being able to separate yourself. All right, I tried to help. They're not ready, and you have to move past it. Maybe it's not you that are meant to help them. So let's see. Chuck, Chuck, if you're still here, say something. You just said something a couple minutes ago. Is there any ground out there in Iowa that you would say really highly affects that particular area? Now, for sure, but a lot of it's based in the land. Now, can the structures have spirits? A lot of it sometimes is misunderstood. Can be startling to someone that's not used to it, scary even. But it might be just take a little understanding to understand that they're not really there to hurt you. They've never hurt you, that you're just scared, right? I mean, most of the time they don't hurt. Why? Because they don't intend to. Sometimes when people get hurt, they weren't intending to hurt them, but sometimes their energy can be so intense that it comes out in such a burst that it might affect us in a bruise or a scratch. It might just be that strong enough burst that might cause something of that nature. Coming from wherever their energy is, and the way that it breaks through might affect the human body in those types of ways. Some of it's not intentional. Some, not all scratches and bruises are some negative entity. It was, sometimes it was an accident from someone that would never hurt anybody, even from the other side. But that's just, again, my opinion. That's just my opinion. Let's see. Chuck says, I would say the entire tri-state area around me with all of the limestone present causes this issue. Yes, limestone and quartz, especially when they're together. Limestone itself, yes. Quartz on its own, yes. But when you get a high, concentration of quartz and limestone, which is quite often the case, you get a lot of activity, a lot of energy from that. And you think about it with quartz, I mean, they've been using quartz in watches and computers and all kinds of things to power them for, I would say, 120 years, maybe? So, yeah. Quartz is very powerful. There's still, every computer that's around has quartz crystal in it. Yeah. Not too many people know that either, but it's true. Perhaps even more. I know with the wind up, they used to use quartz as well. So they used to use other things too, like radon and radium. But don't end up building apartments inside of an old watch factory. It's a bad idea. It's not because of the quartz. It's probably because of whatever it is, radium or radon or whatever it was that they used to use too. Yeah. Avoid that. That would cause a bad situation physically on your body. Scary. Very, very, very scary. But, oh, yeah, it was 1.1 million acres of the pine lands. The Pine Barrens, it's 1.1 million. And it's actually the Pine Lands National Reserve now. And it occupies 22% of the state, which is 1/5. About 1/5 of the state. Here it is. The Pine Barrens name refers to the areas of sandy and acidic, nutrient-poor soil. It spans across 7 counties and is heavily forested area, and a lot of it is along the coastline. Although, I did mention this too. I can't believe that's stuck in here. Because I wrote it down for a reason, because I don't think I remember it. Although early European settlers could not cultivate their farm crops that were familiar to them, the Pine Barrens' unique ecology supports a diverse spectrum of plant life, including orchids, and this one that I couldn't remember, carnivorous plants. Interesting in such a barren, acidic soil. Carnivorous plants, pygmy pine trees, Jersey devil. See a pattern? One thing on its own might not be, but when you get a little bit of, put the dots together, sometimes you think, is that possible? Could that possibly be? I can't say. I've never been there, so I don't know the feels of the place. But that is very interesting. Rare pygmy pine trees. Very rare. Carnivorous plants. They say these blue lakes could go right straight to hell. And they say that that's where the Jersey devil actually resides. It goes down into the depths there and goes straight to hell, and that's how he comes and goes through those lakes and gets around. Are they all linked? I don't know. But I know 2 of the Finger Lakes up here in New York are Cayuga and Seneca. Seneca is the deepest of the Finger Lakes, and they're connected. They have locks that you can actually go through, but they're connected over 600 some feet down. There's salt mines down there, and they're connected from one lake to another, and they're big. They're really big lakes. So if you ever looked at New York State map, you'll see them. They're right in your face. So what's really interesting about this as well that I found about this area is also notable for its population of rare pygmy pines, and other species, other plant species that actually depend on the destruction of the the pine barrens to reproduce. The fires that take place there all the time, these things thrive on that to survive. They thrive on destruction to reproduce. Another negative thing, right? I mean, pine barrens. Natural, unknown reasons, and of course, human interaction causing that. It's interesting once you put some of these facts from things together. Are they all true? I don't know. I never claim that they are. But those things are true. The plants, the soil, all that, all been studied by scientists. So let's see, perhaps even more. Chuck says, I would also, this has something to do with my tree in the backyard. Would love to have you take a look at it when you come for Paracon. Has to have something to do with the area and the land. I think that, as you already know, Chuck, I think that tree is affected by the elemental in the area, and that whole area occupies that land. The elemental from that area. And I think it's an elemental kind of gone bad. As I've always told you that. Do they start out bad? No, I don't think so. But it gets tired. The elementals can get nasty when they get fed up with the land being mistreated or disrupted. It becomes tainted, so to speak, or haunted, or exudes negative energies and things like that. And I know there's some negative energy coming from that. And when I saw that actual elemental that we discussed in great length and described to you, and yeah, it's definitely an elemental gone bad, gone wrong. And there's a lot of other activity in his area as well. There's a lot of UFO activity. All different aspects of the paranormal has happened in that area. Chuck, how is that area affected by the glacier, the glacier travel? Isn't the stop near you where it like came to a sudden stop, the glaciers? And let's see. I need to get you scheduled for my show on Sunday nights. Oh, yeah, definitely. What kind of elemental you think it is? It's not a happy one. It's definitely an earth elemental, and it's fed up. It did not want to show itself, but when I finally did see it, I wish I hadn't, because it almost kind of ticked it off even more that I could see its true image. But then I think it just became cocky, and it was like just angry and upset and didn't care. Now that I had already seen it, it's not pleasant. This one is not pleasant. Now, is it always that way? I don't know, but every time I've come in contact with it, it was not good. I don't think they flip-flop. I really don't. They're either, I think they all start off good. But I think, mankind has on every level. So it's pretty intense. It's pretty intense. Well, yeah, the energies vary, in the earth and our atmosphere at all times from one second to the next, we can all just do our best and do our parts to put out as much positive energy as we can, because there is such an extreme amount of negative energy out there these days that we really have to do our best. Those of us who are willing to do our best to emit positive energy into the atmosphere and into the earth and into the universe in general affects our surroundings, and then affects the next and the next and the next. It's like a domino effect. And it's really, really important, really important. And that karma, that energy comes back to you in a good way. Now, we're all going to have crap that happens. We are human. We're humans. Of course, things are going to happen that we can't understand or explain. That's humanity. A lot of times it's out of our control. But it's how you handle it with grace, dignity, positive energy, learning a life lesson, and moving forward. We all have times that we have to grieve. We all go through those stages of, we might have lost someone and we're angry about it. You have every right to be. It's a learning process of learning how to get through that loss. We all go through those stages. It's heartbreaking, but it's how we handle things that's important. Truly. And not to lash out at other people while we're going through it. Yeah, we're human, but we all know the difference. Most of the population knows the difference between right and wrong, and treating other people poorly is wrong. We all know that. So let's see. Is there a way to make it happy again? There's a way to appease it. I wouldn't say that it's something that even in one single human lifetime that can change that, because that type of earth elemental energy, that would be up to them to get themselves back in balance, because they're one with the energy. We are too. They're a lot more powerful than we are. I would say offerings like you would to a Native American. I would say different types of offerings, and keep track of them like a journal. This week you make this offering, and see how the energy feels when you make that particular offering with, say, this fruit or whatever you want to use. Try different things. Keep a journal. Do it for, do that one particular thing for a week. Feel that energy. See how things change. And that way you can always refer back to your journal as to, wow, the energy was amazing. What did I leave for an offering that week? Maybe that's what they want. Just to, appease and show respect. I think that's crucial in any culture. It's just a matter of showing that respect and showing that you're putting in the work and the effort by placing an offering. It shows the effort, not just thinking it or saying it, but you're putting forth some kind of effort is proving that you are wanting to show respect. I think it's crucial. So yeah. And I would say on any tainted ground, that's probably a good idea. And showing any kind of respect at any given day, any given place is a good idea. But when you have bad energy vibes coming from someplace, and you look back at the history that's been going on for hundreds or thousands of years, that you think one human being is going to change that? Probably not. Probably not. That'd be great. We could sure help things. The more positive energy you put out there, the better. You take a group of like-minded, positive thinking individuals that have the same goal, the same intentions of changing things, put those positive energies out there. Even better. You know, I used to do this with a group of my girlfriends all the time. You just get together and take these offerings to the Native American burial ground that's out behind my one particular friend's place, my friend Tracy's place, and place those offerings, and put that positive intent out there, that positive energy, flood the joint with it. Take an offering, berries, sweet fruits, tobacco, anything natural, nothing processed, I would say, but use something natural, nuts and fruits and things of that nature, would be great, I would say. Anywhere. It's like carrying pocket stones with you. It's all about your intent. It's all about whether you believe that it's going to help you or not. Same with your energy. Same with your energy. Tainted ground, everybody. If something comes to your mind that you think of later, or something you see brings that to your forefront of your mind, shoot me a message, because I'm going to try to create a bit of a list of some places that might need some positive energy sent that way. And, maybe with all the like-minded individuals here within Variety Multimedia Network, which includes every single one of you watching and chat as well, and we'll watch later. Maybe we can send that positive energy that particular way to that particular place. Might not change it, but what about helping it? That would be great, I think. Shoot me a message if you have such a place, and I'll search some positive energy that way. Anybody else? Anybody have any questions or any places they want to bring up before I show you what I got? I can't wait. This will be the third one. I'm going to be doing a special show about this, like I do every year, because a ton of new places have been added to the Haunted History Trail of New York's annual yearly magazine. You can go to ilovenewyork.com, which is the tourism site, and find these. Or you can go to specifically hauntedhistorytrail.com and get this sent to you. Even if you don't live in New York, you can get this sent to you anywhere. It's free. And at the very bottom of this site, hauntedhistorytrail.com, is where you can, all you got to do is drop in your address, and they'll send it to you. It takes about 5 or 6 weeks sometimes. It depends on how many they have on hand. These things are getting very popular, so I suggest if you want to do this, you do it quickly. And below that, once you get there and you put your address in to receive this, scroll down, because there's a whole list of every county in New York State, all their tourism guides. So if you're interested in a particular place or several different counties in New York for tourism, things to see, places to go, where to eat, historical places, events, fairs, things of that nature, you can get those brochures sent to you too, just like these. They even come with a map inside. The one I got first was this one, and one from Portland County, which is just the next county north of me. I got one for there, and that one actually has a really nice map in it. So that's really cool. And